Hey, comic lovers, it's EMoney, the old man, and Thor the dog of thunder here. Hey, boy.
This guy.
Hey, boy. You been a good boy this week?
He's a mooch.
Yeah. I heard you ate some puzzle pieces earlier yesterday.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Eating cardboard?
Yeah. That's bad for you.
Eat this stuff.
Yeah, eat that.
Not cardboard.
All right, so what do we have going on today? Well, the old man and I earlier today saw the new Spider-Man No Way Home. And I just got to say, okay, but we're going to give you a full review coming up here in just a minute.
With spoilers, so be warned.
Yeah, so you've been warned. Also, we have our comic reviews, stuff that came out last week included, some independent stuff, and of course we have our Marvel DC stuff, all cool, and we're going to see how they ranked up. Also, I have another movieism for you. I have one that kind of ties into comic books. I mean, if you count Aliens and Predators as comic books, which, you know.
Dark Horse ran Aliens and Predators for years, and now that Marvel's got the Aliens franchise, maybe they'll get the Predator franchise.
Yep, so still counts, still connects. All right, so we have all that coming up. And plus, I'm going to do another internet challenge with Thor here in a minute.
Oh, God.
All right, so it's an all-new multiverse of madness for the MCU, folks. This is Back Issues. All right, comic lovers. So before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. All right, now, before we go any further in this, I cannot emphasize enough. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. No Way Home spoilers. All right, so you've been warned. I don't want to get angry comments on the channel.
You know, when we get done talking about the movie, you should put up spoilers over, or, you know.
I'll try to remember.
Something so they can see that as they're fast forwarding through and start watching a comic book review.
Right.
That's what we do on this channel.
Yes.
We review comic books.
Mm-hmm. And comic book movies, apparently. All right, so Spider-Man No Way Home. The movie was amazing. No pun intended. Okay, so everything about this movie was incredible from the first act to the end. I mean, it was just an incredible film. I mean, honestly, we have high expectations in movies. I mean, we enjoy just about any superhero movie within reason.
True.
But it's like, you know, we were always like, you know, they could have done this, they could have done that, blah, blah, blah. So what could you have reasonably expected from this film that you didn't get out of it?
I mean, you know, we're going to do some nitpicking.
Yeah, I mean, like little things.
I would have liked to have seen all six. There's been a bunch of Sinister Six members.
Mm-hmm.
You telling me you couldn't come up with one?
Yeah.
Isn't the Vulture in this reality?
Yes.
So just get him out of jail or wherever he is, and there you got six. Why do you want to tease the Sinister Six with five guys?
I mean, we're always saying how a movie gets oversaturated with villains so much and it ruins the movie. There was no reason that this many villains in a movie should have worked, but somehow it did.
I mean, let's face it, 5, 6, what difference does it make?
Right.
I mean, once you get past 3, it's chaos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which this was, but that's okay.
But
also, we got to see Matt Murdock.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I didn't like about the Netflix series is how long it took to go from the episode 1 until you got to see him in costume.
Well, what I hated about it was, like, he gets into a costume in season 2, and then in season 3 he gets rid of the costume and goes back to the black outfit.
I mean, I guess the costumes are expensive. I don't know. But anyway, I would have liked to have seen him, like, swing away or something, you know. Maybe nobody notices it when he leaves. Instead of hopping on a bus, he takes off in costume. I don't know.
Okay, well, since you brought up the Netflix verse, let's get into that for a second. So we've got the Kingpin and the Hawkeye show now, and the finale is later today if you're watching on Wednesday. And then you got, you know, Matt Murdock appearing in Spider-Man. So they have brought elements of the Marvel Netflix verse into the MCU, and it begs the question: is the Marvel Netflix verse canon to the MCU now, Or
I always thought it was.
Or are they just kind of cherry picking the best parts of the Netflix verse and bringing it into the MCU?
It could be canon, they just don't talk about it. You don't have to talk about Iron Fist for him to be canon. Which, trust me, they're probably not going to talk about it.
Well, I mean, if they recast him, then that means that, the Netflix verse is retconned and, they just cherry pick. But so far, that hasn't happened yet.
Well, my question is, what are they going to do with the Punisher? Because it looked like the Punisher had been totally canceled. But with, school shootings and all the violence in the world, that they decided they didn't need a guy running around shooting people.
Sure.
It's a comic book. But at any rate, I saw today that that's not true, that they're going to bring him back, only instead of a skull, it's got some sort of demon skull on his, which, whatever.
Okay.
But I would like to see, what's his name, Barenthal?
John Bernthal, yeah.
Bernthal. I'd like to see him back. I thought he did a hell of a job.
Yeah. And, another thing, something that always bothered me about connecting the Netflix verse with the MCU was they never addressed the blip. I mean, they never brought it into the Netflix verse, so...
I'm going to go with it happened before the blip.
I mean, that's the only way you could really explain it.
All right, so we need to get back to reviewing the
movie.
movie.
All right, so, little bit of a connection here was, like I said, nitpicking a bit. I was expecting to see Kirsten Dunst marry Jane in the movie because I saw this picture somewhere on the internet a while back where Kirsten Dunst and Deborah Ann Wall from Daredevil...
Karen Page.
Yeah, Karen Page were seen getting coffee or something together, not far from where they were filming Spider-Man. So that led you to believe that they were going to be in the movie, which obviously they were not.
So you let something you see influence what you were expecting. You can't do it.
All right, so that brings me to my next point, what they revealed in the trailer. Now, you guys know that, the old man does not watch trailers as much as he can because he doesn't want to get spoiled.
Now, let me qualify that. I don't watch trailers for superhero movies that I already know I'm going to see.
Right.
If I watch a trailer, it's because I want to know, do I want to see the movie or not? Well, when they announce a Marvel movie, I already know I'm going to see it. Why do I want to let them spoil stuff?
When we went to the theater, leading up to No Way Home, if the Spider-Man trailer came up before the movie, the old man would just be like, and closing his eyes. So, what
looked kind of silly, I admit, but I don't care.
Right. Like, you didn't want a repeat of Civil War where they show you Spider-Man.
See, you had to bring it up. That just makes me mad all over again.
Okay. All right, calm down. All right. So, what did they reveal in the trailer? The trailer, I mean, they gave you pretty much all the villains. Every villain that was in the movie you see in the trailer, which, I mean, you could have given us Dr. Octopus and maybe Green Goblin.
Well,
and
I didn't know Doc Ock was going to be in it.
You did know Doc Ock.
I did know Doc Ock because there was something about they announced the actor. I caught something I shouldn't have caught. But the rest, I suspected.
Right.
Because they've been building up to do Sinister Six forever. Even though they still haven't done it. But at any rate,
right.
I suspected that.
All right. So, now, to their credit, they did not show you the Spider-Man in the trailers.
Which I also suspected, but did not
Right.
know.
I mean, even though they didn't put it in the trailer, it was probably the worst kept secret in social media because everyone was pretty solid we were going to see the other Spider-Man. In fact, people were making fake posters showing the other Spider-Man in the poster.
Well, as soon as they announced it was going to be a huge multiverse storyline.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you know what? Because, Tom Holland is like the worst person at keeping secrets.
Poor guy.
In an interview, they asked him about working with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and he's like, yeah, I would love to work with those guys someday. That would be awesome. And then later in the interview, he said about No Way Home, it's going to be a great movie. It's like 3 generations coming together.
Tom.
Like, shut your pie hole.
Tom.
Jeez.
You need to hire a mouthpiece and let them do all the talking for you.
All right, so let's see. Before I get into this point, okay. So some stuff about the characters. For one, minor character. I feel like I wanted a little bit more from the whole Flash Thompson angle because they've been kind of building this relationship between the two of them for a long time. Not like relationship, but they're their dynamic, I guess is the word to use, where he really loves Spider-Man, and he's a total dick to Peter Parker. So he finds out Peter Parker's Spider-Man. I figure it's going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to say, "Oh, hey, Peter, I was just messing with you the whole time, old buddy, old pal. I didn't mean anything by it." Or it was going to be like, "Peter Parker is Spider-Man? Man, I can't believe I worship that guy. He's a dick. Like, forget Spider-Man." One of two ways, and I guess they went with the former. And he tries to suck up to him, like, "Yeah, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he's my buddy. Like, here's my read my book. My life is Peter Parker, Spider-Man's best friend." And just building up that whole douchebag angle. I feel like, I know Peter's trying to keep a low profile after he's revealed to be Spider-Man, but I feel like I would have had to address that. Be like, yes, he's my classmate. No, he is not my friend. Don't buy his book. All right, so there's Flash. MJ, she was sort of a secondary character in the first movie, and then they build up their relationship together in Far From Home, and now they're together in the third movie, which is pretty much how it went in the original Tobey Maguire trilogy, because he wasn't really with Mary Jane until the very end of the second movie. So they're together, and she knows everything now, and they build this dynamic together, and then they just ruin it by the end of the movie. We're going to get to that in a second. Now let's talk about Ned. Ned, I thought Ned's always been a fun character.
He's the mild comic relief.
Yes, and he's the guy in the seat, as he likes to tell people. So, do you remember in the first Doctor Strange movie how long it took Strange to open up a portal?
Forever.
Yeah, and then it took the Ancient One taking him to the top of Mount Everest or something and leaving him up there, and if he doesn't open up a portal, he's going to die. So then Ned, he gets a sling ring, he just does it without even thinking about it.
Hey, maybe his magic potential is just greater than Doctor Strange.
So it opens up a whole new world of potential for Ned. And, what he's able to do, because, when Doctor Strange finds out it was a portal, he's like, It's like, what does that mean for Ned? Is he going to be in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness?
I don't want to know.
Is he going to be Doctor Strange's new apprentice?
I don't want to know.
I'm curious. I'm eager to find out. So a lot of potential with Ned, and plus that whole potential for becoming a villain, because he does in the comic book, right? And the whole him finding out about the other Spider-Men, hit their best friends becoming villains, and he's like, Peter, I promise I will not turn my back on you and become a villain.
Well, Ned, the old man's holding you to that. I do not want you to become Hobgoblin.
Yeah,
I don't want it.
Things that happen in the comic books, certain things we don't want to happen in the MCU.
Well, I don't know if you've got this in your notes or not, but I want to talk about performances.
Okay.
Can we do that now?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. First off, Willem Dafoe. He's a beast. He's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who is the same age as the old man. And in his contract, he wouldn't sign it unless they let him do his own stunts. I don't even like taking a step down off of a bus onto the street. And this guy's jumping around like he's crazy. No, thank you. How are you doing it? It's got to be some elixir you've taken that'll let you stay young somehow. And his talent. When he was doing some of his scenes where he was either the Goblin or, just Harry Osborn.
Norman Osborn.
Harry's son. Okay. Norman Osborn. Incredible performances. I know superhero movies don't get a lot of Oscar attention.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody needs to slap them boys around and get them to pay attention. All right, Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm.
He showed us some stuff in some of the Avengers movies. The scene where he gets snapped.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where Tony dies.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. I
Yep.
mean, I'm choking up just thinking about those scenes. But we know about Tom Holland. What's the girl's name that plays MJ? Zendaya. Where the hell did that come from? You are turning into one hell of an actress. Keep it up.
I mean, I first noticed her on Disney Channel, but I don't know what she did before
I
that.
don't watch the Disney Channel much.
All right, so...
I'm not done.
Oh, okay.
Ned, it's hard to be taken seriously when you're doing the comic relief bit. He managed to pull it off. And Andrew Garfield, man, when he saves Mary Jane,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at his face and you realize that in his mind, he's thinking something along the lines of, thank God I was able to save this Mary Jane, but I wish I could have saved mine.
Right. And yeah, I hopefully the whole redemption story means that he's able to forgive himself for that. And I don't know if we're going to be getting any future Andrew Garfield Spider-Man stories. I heard that was being tossed around at Marvel right now.
I kind of feel sorry for the guy. I mean, he did a good job playing Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess Tom Holland is always going to be my Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
But Garfield did good. He was great.
Yeah.
So I feel bad that he only got 2 movies and out. But
Sure.
you know, at any rate,
All
that's
right.
about
So
it.
the pacing of the movie is so great because they give you like a little bit like every act. Because the first act you get Matt Murdock showing up in the house, and you get a little tease for him. And then, I mean, of course, everyone knew Doctor Strange was going to be in there, but still, it was cool seeing him a little later on in the film. And then
His Scooby-Doo line was perfect.
yeah, and the whole fight with Spider-Man in the mirror dimension. Then you get, I mean, like I said, worst kept secret in social media, but everyone had like that little bit of doubt in their minds about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire being in the movie, because I saw one thing like days before we went on this one message board where somebody claiming that they saw the movie or something, that Andrew Garfield and Tobey were going to be referenced in the film, but they weren't actually going to show up. So that little bit of doubt in my mind was just worrying me right up until Andrew Garfield stepped through the portal. When he stepped through the portal, there was a round of applause in the theater. And then, Tobey, stepping through the portal after that. So, and you can't say there wasn't a little bit of fan service that happened in the whole movie.
There was
because
tons of it.
Oh yeah, because there was one meme I saw where, you remember in Endgame when Natasha's talking to Steve and Natasha says, "It's gonna work, Steve," and Steve says, "I know it is, because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't." There was a meme that said, where Natasha's saying, "They're gonna be in the movie, Steve," and Steve's like, "I know they are, because I don't know what I'm gonna do if they're not." So there was that, and there was another. Oh, the whole fan service with the web shooters, because there was there was a meme I saw where it's like, "All right, guys, they're on their way. Like, load up your web shooters." And Andrew Garfield's like, "All right, check." And Toby's like, "What are web shooters?" So that's probably been a running joke for a while now, and Marvel was able to make fun of that. And that whole conversation that the 3 Spider-Men had on the Statue of Liberty waiting for the villains to show up, I mean, them just shooting the breeze like they were, I mean, that was great stuff there.
Yep.
Great non-action scene. So, all right, so we talked about Andrew Garfield catching MJ. Now let's talk about the one sore spot in the movie, or what I thought was a sore spot, other than the ending, was Aunt May dying. I mean, Aunt May's been a staple of Spider-Man, from the very beginning, and just her, being written out of it now is kind of heartbreaking.
I just don't. I don't know what you do with Spider-Man without Aunt May. I mean, man.
Well, now that he's completely on his own, it kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen. If this were a TV show, this were a Spider-Man TV show, and everyone forgets about Spider-Man at the end of the season, the next season, I mean, TV shows have a way of like kind of, undoing everything that had you on the edge of your seat at the end of the last season. So if this were the next season, then, in the first or second episode, the spell or whatever would be undone, and suddenly everybody who he cares about remembers him again. That's how it would happen in the show. But this being a movie series, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we don't even know for sure if we're going to get another Spider-Man movie, because Tom Holland is casting doubt about coming back right now.
Well, I thought I saw somewhere that he signed, and I don't read these articles real closely. It could have just been rumor, and do you believe everything you see on Facebook? I don't know. But it said he signed for 5 movies, 3 Spider-Man and 2 MCU movies.
I mean, he's been in at least 3 non-Spider-Man movies playing Spider-Man that I can think of. Civil War and 2 Avengers movies. So, I mean, that's 6 at least right now. So, we don't know what the future of Tom Holland's Spider-Man is, but hopefully he signs on again. I mean,
I don't know what the future of anything in the MCU is. Proud of that.
Yeah. So, another thing to think about is, another thing, nitpicking, because, we're watching Hawkeye and Spider-Man is right now. Hawkeye takes place during Christmas time. So at the end of the movie, and a few months have gone by, and he's out on his own right now, and the Christmas decorations are up. I thought that maybe they were going to have like a little cameo appearance, like Peter Parker's walking by and he bumps into Clint.
Well, reverse it. They could still do it on Hawkeye.
Yeah, I mean, they could do that. Fingers crossed. But, that's just nitpicking. This little something I would have liked.
You're doing the same thing we did in WandaVision, where we were hoping this was going to happen, we're hoping that was going to happen.
Well, you see,
none of it happened.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of time in Spider-Man to, build my hopes up like I did with WandaVision. Like, you give me time to think about stuff I want to see happen, I'm going to think of it. All right, so, and that brings us to the ending where, nobody remembers who he is, which is really heartbreaking. So, hopefully, in the future, memories are restored to the people who matter. And I think that brings us to the end, except for the after credit scene, which is really confusing. Because after credit scene, Venom, he showed up at the end of his movie. I thought the whole stipulation on the spell Doctor Strange cast was people who know who Peter Parker is, he knows he's Spider-Man, are starting to bleed through into this reality. Well, Venom doesn't even know who Peter Parker is.
As far as we know, he never met him.
Yeah. He doesn't know Peter Parker, doesn't know Spider-Man, so why the hell was he dragged into this reality? And then just as soon as he shows up, he's gone again.
Well, since he was there, why didn't he jump in and be number 6 of the Sinister Six?
Right? Or help him, whichever angle they wanted to do with that. But we got a little piece of symbiote that got left behind.
They left it open for Venom. That piece can go find this reality's Eddie, and we have Venom.
All right, so maybe we'll see that in future projects.
You know me, I don't particularly care for symbiotes anyway, so whatever.
And the last point I want to make was the Statue of Liberty. We got a little tease about it, which I guess is the only thing closest connection to Hawkeye and Spider-Man, where Yelena says she wants to see the new and improved Statue of Liberty. I thought that the Statue of Liberty had been destroyed somehow and I missed it, but apparently it just went under massive renovations where it gets cleaned and have the oxidization removed to where it looks like it's former cop. I'm getting to that. Shut up. It gets to its, what it looked like in the first place was a copper coloring. And also it gets the Captain America shield put on top of it, which it was kind of ruined because,
they'll fix it.
Jonah made a good point. It's like, why the hell does Spider-Man hate national monuments? Why? You picked the battleground. Of all the places you could have, you could have found like an empty field somewhere, but no, you have to fight on the Statue of Liberty. I don't know why you picked to do that.
Spider-Man ain't gonna pick any place to fight where there's not big tall things around him.
Maybe not something so valuable or sentimental. So, that's the only Hawkeye connection I can think of, and now that I have to rebuild it all over again. All right, so there is the movie, and I saw the second end credit scene, which was a trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The old man was told by somebody at work not to stick around for it because it's a trailer. Old man doesn't like trailers to things he's already knows he's gonna go see, and doesn't want to get spoiled. So he didn't see it. So
And had no intention of seeing it.
I don't think it revealed that much that he didn't already know was going to happen in the new Doctor Strange
Something
movie.
like that can turn suspicions into certainties, and I'd rather have the suspicions.
Mm-hmm. And this movie, you knew Doc Ock was going to be in it. You didn't know anything
Because
else.
something got spoiled.
Right, but everything else was suspicion, but you didn't know for sure. So everyone else imagined going into the movie with that, not knowing anything other than Doc Ock's going to be in it. All right, so there's our coverage of Spider-Man No Way Home. What score do we give this movie?
All right, well, just so you know, we score comic books, 5 shields is the maximum you can get. Movies, 4 popcorns. That's it. And I'm stingy with those 4s. I've never given out more than 1 4 in any given year. As far as Marvel movies, the only 4s I've given, I gave the first Avengers movie 4 popcorns because that movie was written for me, not for you all, like you all think. It was written for the old man. Okay? And Endgame, 4 popcorns. I mean,
That's not a rule, though. You can only give out 4 popcorns a year.
It's never happened.
Right.
I mean, there's been a lot of 3.5 stars, but very rarely do I give out 4 stars.
I've only given out 2 when I was doing EMoney's reviews. One was for Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and the other one was for Hacksaw Ridge with Andrew Garfield.
I don't think I gave either one of those 4s. I think I gave them both 3.5. Excellent movies. So if I give something 3.5 popcorns, it's a hell of a thing. It's not as much of a hell of a thing as if I'd given them 4, but understand the scarcity of that. That being said, there were a few things about this movie that I didn't... I mean, I know you have to kill people to keep us honest, but Aunt May, to me, it was crossing the line. You don't kill Aunt May. You don't kill Lois Lane. I mean, there's certain people that are immortal. It should have been Aunt May. I don't really know where they're going, which leads me to alternate realities, multiverses, infinite Earths, DC. DC had all these different Earths. They did the Crisis on Infinite Earths, brought them all back together, and then all of a sudden you get all these Earths again. That type of storyline is a way for lazy writers to explain things.
Wait, so that counts against this movie?
Absolutely. So
Multiverse counts against the movie.
Oh yeah, with
That's
me?
that's what makes it awesome.
No.
That's what makes it so great.
No. Let me explain. Aunt May, dead. Happy. Ex-girlfriend. Brokenhearted. If they decided to bring Aunt May back, that wasn't our Aunt May. That was one from another universe. It's too easy. Too easy. I mean, alternate universes, multiverses, poo-poo.
So if they cloned her, that would make it better for
I
you?
don't like clones either. I don't. If you kill somebody in a movie, they need to stay dead. There needs to not be some way to snap your fingers and bring them back. You don't go backwards around the earth real fast and go back in time to save somebody. Garbage. If they're dead, they're dead. Leave it that way. There's all kinds of different ways you can bring somebody back from the dead. You don't have to, I mean, I'd rather see him give them a healing potion or a potion of rejuvenation than use the multiverse as a way to bring back somebody who's dead. Now, if they end up bringing Aunt May back that way, I'm going to look at y'all and go, ha! Told you so. But at any rate, I don't think they will. I hope they don't. Now, all that being said, I gave the movie 3.5 popcorns. And once again, that's a hell of a score from me. So don't be mad at me. Well, if you're mad at me, you're mad at me. I'm not going to say fight me because I don't want to get my ass kicked. But, that's the way I feel about it. It's an honest opinion, mine, which, that's the most important one.
All right, folks, I'm gonna deviate from the old man. Like I don't usually do this. Usually
he never does this.
Yeah, usually we come up with a score collectively and present it to you. I'm gonna go rogue here. I'm giving this movie 4 popcorns out of 4.
You go right ahead.
I mean, I don't think you get any closer to perfection with a Spider-Man movie than you do here. So, I'm giving it 4 out of 4.
If they do Kraven's Last Hunt, you watch. That'll be a 4 popcorn movie.
All right, so there you have it. Make with it what you will. All right, so that does it for this week's movie review.
Put your spoilers
Oh yeah,
over.
no more movie spoilers.
Put that up. All right.
Rosebud is a sled. Ha.
Hate that movie.
All right. So we're going into. Oh yeah, you need these things. Going into this week's comic reviews, or I guess comic reviews for last week's releases.
Yeah, that's what we do on this channel. We review comic books.
All right, so it may surprise you or not surprise you that we got a lot of Batman titles this week.
Always.
In fact, all of our mentions this week are Batman titles.
You know, we need to take a week and just take a break from Batman.
Yeah, but we're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, probably not.
All right, so to remind you how we do this differently than we do movie reviews. We do this on a 5 shield rating system. We give each issue 2 scores, one for writing and story, the other one for artwork. And then we combine our 4 scores together to give it an average overall score.
And we don't talk about it until we sit down and put the numbers together. So we don't influence each other. Although a lot of times we come up with the same scores, but that's beside the point. You know, speaking of Batman, we've been doing these 5 shields for so long. Maybe one week we're going to switch it up and do 5 Batarangs.
That's a thought.
Anyway, it's probably a bad thought, but it's a thought. All right, so what do we do first? We do mentions.
You mentions.
Not always honorable, but I think this week not so much.
No.
All right, but what's funny is all 3 of our honorable, or all 3 of our mentions are Bat books.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start it off with a new series, number 1, Batgirls. That's plural, girls.
All right, so this issue follows in the aftermath of Batman Fear State, where the Batgirls, Barbara, Stephanie Brown, and Cassandra Cain want to strike out on their own and kind of separate themselves from Batman and the old clock tower, which is where they used to operate.
I think they have to, don't they? Something's going on.
Yeah, it blew up or something.
Blew up, or the bad guys know where they're at or something.
Yeah. So they find an apartment in the crappy part of town, and you know it's crappy because as soon as they show up, a gang of thugs confront Cassandra and said it's time to give a what do you call it?
Pay the toll.
Pay the toll, or I forgot what the word is.
Tribute.
Tribute. That's the word. Where you have to give a tribute, and so Barbara tells them that they're wanting to keep a low profile here. So Cassandra relents and gives them the stuff, but then later on, when she sees them in an alley and there's no witnesses around, she proceeds to beat the crap out of them and take her stuff back, as she should. So the story itself is not terrible, but the artwork is not so great. I think we both gave I gave the artwork at least a 2.
No, I begrudgingly gave it a 3.
Okay. I mean, in order for it to get comic to get a 1 from me, you have to be like, the shittiest piece of crap artwork that's ever
stick figures.
Yeah, ever been put on a comic book.
So the 2's pretty bad.
Yeah. So, like I said, story not horrible. I mean, I like to see these 3 characters and their dynamic with each other as all Batgirls getting along and working the crime angle together. So I ended up giving it an overall score of
3 shields rounded up.
3 shields rounded up. Like I said, didn't like the artwork. All right, next up.
Next up, we have The Joker, number 10.
All right. So this issue is, it takes a little break from the main storyline for this, and it's actually a flashback issue, and it takes place in the aftermath of Batman the Killing Joke.
Great book.
Yeah, after the Joker paralyzed Barbara and he kidnapped Commissioner Gordon and tried to drive him insane. So Barbara is back at home, and Gordon is on administrative leave in recovery, and they're trying to adjust to their new normal after Barbara is put in a wheelchair. So it gives a great insight into that story and what happened next. And also, Commissioner Gordon's son, James, who you may know becomes a criminal psychopath on his own later on. You kind of see some background into his descent into madness. And this title is called The Joker, and a lot of times in the main storyline it follows Commissioner Gordon more than the Joker. But in this issue, Joker does not appear at all. You know, he's mentioned a lot, obviously, but he does not appear in the story.
They've done Commissioner Gordon titled books and they bomb, so call it The Joker, it'll sell.
Yes. All right, so good storytelling here. The artwork is okay. It's pretty good, but not quite as good as the regular storyline in this series. So the Joker, number 10, ends up with
3.5.
3.5 shields out of 4. 5. 3.5 out of 5. All right, next up.
Next up we have not Batman and Robin, but Robin and Batman. Now, this is a 3-issue miniseries, and this is number 2.
All right, so this is a retelling of the origin of Dick Grayson as Robin. And it's been told a lot of times here, but this is a new iteration. So it starts out with Dick Grayson being sent home from school because some kids were picking on him, and he's in the principal's office. And this is what I hate about these stories so much, is it's always the guy who finishes the fight who gets in trouble. It doesn't matter who started it, who was picking on who instigated, who threw the first punch. I mean, the fact that Dick Grayson, is practically unmarked while the other kids are in the nurse's office, he's the one to blame, right?
Can you imagine kids Robin's age fighting Robin?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in a position of authority, a teacher, a principal, don't worry about who finished the fight. Get the facts and find out, who started it in the first place.
And why.
Yeah, exactly. Get to the bottom of it. So anyways, moving on. He gets home and Batman has a surprise for him. He is taking him to Justice League Watchtower.
Well, it's his birthday.
Yes.
That's his present.
So Robin goes up and he gets to meet Superman, Wonder Woman, and all the other League members. And the League members leave, and Hawkman is on monitor duty, and Robin gets to hang out with all the other sidekicks. He meets Speedy, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, and Aqualad. And, kids being kids, they don't listen to what the adults tell them to do, and they go off on a mission of their own.
Multiple missions.
Yes. So we see that, and then when he gets back to the cave, we find out why Batman really sent him up to the Watchtower.
It was not for fun.
Yeah, and it's not overly surprising of what Batman's intentions were.
It's Batman.
So it's a great story here. Problem is the artwork stinks.
That was terrible.
I believe it's done with watercolors or something like that. It looks like something a fairly talented middle schooler would draw. Yeah.
Can I borrow that comic for a minute? Okay, just for a second. Dustin Wynn. These comments were provided by Eric Sievers. If you want his address, if you watch the channel enough, you could probably figure it out.
You know what? I mean, it's my opinion. I'm not going to apologize for having one.
Well, to be honest, the man might have some of the greatest talent on the planet, but this particular comic, I didn't see it. I thought it sucked.
Yeah. So, great story, terrible artwork, and, my humble opinion. So it's why it didn't end up in the top 3. So
Got close though.
Robin and Batman, number 2 out of 3, ends up with
3.5 rounded up.
3.5 out of 5.
If it had just mediocre artwork, it would have been in the top 3.
All right, so there is our mentions for this week. Now it's time for our top 3.
All right, and we'll continue with the Bat stories.
Okay.
This is I think it's the last of a 3-part series. Batman the Imposter, number 3.
All right. So you're not going to tell them how we got to how we rank these?
Oh yeah, there were some ties, weren't there?
Yeah.
Well, there was a tie for second place, and we shot some suggestions on how we're going to decide who got to make the tiebreakers. And you know, I thought back in the day I could skip a stone across the water pretty well. So we went down to McNilly Lake, which is pretty close. Found us a couple of flat pieces of shale, and I forgot something. When I was 20, had a much better arm, and to skip a stone, you got to kind of get, see that hurts right there. You have to kind of get kind of low and sidearm. Yeah, I don't do that so well anymore. When I threw my stone, it just kind of went plump, and EMoney got to skip a few times, so he won. So if you don't like the order of number 2 and 3, it's on him.
All right. So this is the conclusion to the Batman the Imposter story. And Batman learns the identity of the imposter Batman who's gone on a killing spree, killing a lot of Gotham's worst organized crime criminals. And there's also other elements at stake here, like a dedicated police officer who's wanting to stop the Batman regardless if it's the imposter or the real one. And, a lot of things at play here. And we see, them in a final confrontation near the end. And the artwork, I think, was suited to the tone of the comic.
I thought it was perfect for this particular book.
I mean, it had shades of Batman Year One. It's what it reminded me of a lot.
Looked like Frank Miller's work.
Mm-hmm. So, Batman the Imposter, number 3 from Black Label, our number 3 pick for this week, ends up with
4 shields rounded up.
4 shields out of 5. Next up.
All right, Marvel's got a new storyline they're working on. This week it was Wastelanders Wolverine number 1.
All right, so there's a lot of backstory to this issue that you need to be somewhat familiar with. So, decades ago, the supervillains united and collectively wiped out nearly all superheroes, leaving the remaining wastelands of the United States a brutal landscape nearly devoid of hope. These are the stories of the few who remain in a world where heroes can die, villains can win, and the struggle to survive sits alongside threats, cosmic, magical, and supernatural.
In other words, hopefully it's an imaginary story.
Mm-hmm. All right, so one of the backstories to this is that it is tied to Wolverine, was that years ago, Mysterio targeted Wolverine and convinced him that the X-Mansion was under attack by supervillains, and Wolverine was defending it, but it turns out he was actually attacking his fellow X-Men.
And killing them.
And killed them all. Or everyone that was in the mansion, at least. Excuse me. So there was that, and also in the same story, he had a throwdown with the Hulk, who had grown to, like, not just big green giant size, but like ginormous size, and Hulk actually ripped Wolverine apart and ate him, which obviously Hulk did not think through, because as we all know, Wolverine grows back. So Wolverine sliced open the Hulk and tore him apart from the inside out and killed him. So in this story, Wolverine found one of Hulk's kids, a baby with gamma radiation growth, and has kind of taken him as his own. So we see Wolverine walking across the wastelands with this green giant baby.
Reminded me of Lone Wolf and Cub.
Okay. And so we see him in his struggle, in his fight for survival. One of the early pages here, he comes across a motorcycle gang calling himself the Ghost Riders. And they actually dress up like Ghost Rider. And Wolverine makes a commentary here, like they wouldn't shit themselves if they ever came across the real thing.
Well, who wouldn't?
Mm-hmm. And then later on, Wolverine comes across another old enemy that he has to throw down with. And the story concludes in pretty dramatic and epic fashion. So the story ends there, and next week we are getting Wastelanders Hawkeye. So it's going to continue in this universe of things. So great storytelling, pretty nice artwork as well. So Wastelanders Wolverine #1, our #2 pick for this week, ends up with
4 Shields rounded up.
4 Shields rounded up.
All right, next, our #1. First off, if all you read are DC Comics and Marvel Comics, and what the heck, even Image Comics, you're missing the boat. There are a lot of really good small press books out there, like we enjoyed, Redemption, 5-issue post-apocalyptic miniseries. It was great artwork, great story. And, we always are talking about Space Bastards. Yeah, all the time talking about that. It's a great book. But you got to roll the dice and try them. You can listen to us and get them. I think Space Bastards might be coming out with their first or second trade paperback soon, but there's ways to get them. I don't think Space Bastards, the back issues are going to be, I don't think they'll be real hard to find, and they shouldn't be too expensive, but they're really good. Give them a try. Well, this is another one of those books where, from AWA, I saw that it was about World War II. Didn't really know what it was about, so we started picking it up. Now, this is #3 of a 5-issue miniseries, but it's got POWs, it's got Nazis, and it's got some supernatural stuff in it, too. Out #3 from AWA.
All right. So this is #3 out of 5. So the Allies are at the gate, and it says here they'll be at the castle where these Nazis are entrenched with POWs in about 72 hours. So they have uncovered this creature in the church that they're convinced will turn the tide of the war, but they don't know how to control it. And he won't come out of the hole because there seems to be some kind of warding around the hole that he can't get out of. So they've enlisted one of their POWs, a Cheyenne American soldier who can speak his language. He's also
a wind talker, so he's got experience doing different languages.
He can speak several languages. So meanwhile, the POWs are planning to escape, and the captain, who is the ranking officer among the POWs, is trying to convince them to be patient and to wait for the Cheyenne soldier. But, prejudice being what they are in the 1940s, even among the Allies, they're not convinced that the Cheyenne's on their side and that he's a Nazi collaborator. So this muscle-headed sergeant stages a coup with the captain, and the whole thing is just a big powder keg. The soldiers wanting to break out, the captain trying to convince them otherwise, this monster running around, the Nazis, scheming their schemes. I mean, it's just all about to blow up. So this is #3 in a 5-issue series, so can't wait to see what happens next. Out #3 out of 5, our #1 pick for this week. Great artwork, by the way, which is part of what catapulted it into #1. So ends up #1 with 4 shields out of 5.
No rounding.
All right, so there is our top picks for last week's issue. So what do we have going on this week?
All right, this week, remember we talked about taking a week off from Batman?
Yes.
Not this week.
Not going to do that. Okay.
Not this week, because we have Batman versus Bigby, the story about the werewolf. A new Batman book,
Another Batman title.
Batman One Dark Night.
Okay.
It actually looks very good. You've got Robin's #2 also. And Legends of the Dark Knight #8 comes out. So another big Bat week. You also have Wastelanders Hawkeye. You talked about Wastelanders Wolverine. Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, or Hawkeye Kate Bishop. The first one was pretty fun. I like that. And a character from late 60s, early 70s, King Conan.
Okay.
It's probably a mini-series. I wished that we would draw the type of crowd that would, make it an ongoing series, but I don't see that happening. You also have Joe Hill's Refrigerator Full of Heads.
All right.
Good
Okay.
stuff there. And for the smaller press, Image isn't that small, but you've got Gunslinger Spawn #3.
Okay.
We both like that book. And Telepaths #4 comes out.
All right.
Good stuff.
So big week. All right. So there's our picks for this week. Get them at your local comic book shop if you haven't already. All right. I believe we have some business upstairs now. So let's go back up into the garage with Thor. All right, comic lovers. Now it's time for our Movieism of the week. And this one ties into comic books pretty well. This one is what I like to call doubters. Now, this is what happens in a lot of movies when a kid, tries to get his parents out of bed. It's like, Mom, Dad, I saw a monster in the closet or under the bed or out the window.
We'll never believe them.
They're like, yeah, go back to sleep, buddy. We're having a bad dream. So then they come in to investigate, and oftentimes the monster is gone by then.
Oh, it's hiding.
Yeah. Comic book example, Alien vs. Predator. Kid sees a xenomorph outside of his bedroom, and, Mom and Dad come in and is like, honey, when I was your age, I believed in monsters too. And then 5 seconds later, they look out the window, there's a xenomorph right there.
Well, parents just, when they get older, they just kind of forget. Because
Yeah.
there are monsters.
Mm-hmm.
There are.
Another example, not of the non-horror variety, I just watched the first Santa Claus movie a while ago, not for the first time, but again. And, Charlie comes running into his dad's room and he's like, Dad, I heard a clatter. And he's like, Charlie, go back to bed. And then he's like, there's someone on the roof. And here are a few other, more, I'm going to say, horror varieties of the doubters.
You see any more monsters? In the closet? Ooh! Look at that big, scary monster! Ooh!
There's a dinosaur in our backyard.
Serve him dinner, he won't be up all night.
It's the stupid fish tank.
It is not the
He
fish
needs a
tank.
proper
It is
nightlight.
put something over it, Benjamin. Please
It
stop
is
pushing me.
really dangerous.
It isn't. Just turn it off.
All right, that does it for this week's Movieism. Now, I'm going to do a new internet challenge with Thor. This is what happened, or we're going to see what happens. People hold their palm out to their dog's face, and then they see what they do. Now, usually when you put your hand out to Thor, if you have it low enough, he shakes it. But if I hold it right up to his face, I don't know what he's going to do. So, let's see here. Okay. All right, so one lick and one shake and another lick. All right. So,
More licks.
all right, so there's...
You know when a dog licking you is to get the salt off of you? And if they don't get salt, they're probably just going to start chewing on it.
All right, so there's our answer for this week's internet challenge.
EMoney's silly, isn't he?
All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Next week I'll have, come up with another internet challenge for Thor. And we'll have some more comic reviews for you. Actually, I'm sorry. We're not going to have a internet challenge for you because we're taking next week off.
Oh, we're taking a week off for the holidays.
Yeah, we're going to take a holiday break. So we're going to see you back here in 2 weeks with more Thor, more internet challenge, and more comic reviews. And we have Morbius coming up in January, so we'll have a review of that. So it's been 5 months straight with a new Marvel movie every month.
And next week we're not doing back issues, but we're still going to do...
We're still doing our reaction video because next week, later today, it's the season finale of Hawkeye. So look forward to that. So next week is Book of Boba Fett episode 1. So
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll have our reaction video for that, but no back issues next week. All right, we'll see you guys either in reaction videos or in 2 weeks. We'll see you then. Excelsior.
True believers, you have a good Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stay safe.